Hi, this is Anne Marie and
Tonda McKay.
we are married, and I came out later in life to the queer community. I'm also the admin of all the groups that are getting this live feed tonight. About a month ago, Tonda and I decided to start doing live feeds on our Facebook to cover some of the topics that we often cover in the groups that both of us facilitate, and also to talk about things that are important to people when they are in the process of coming out. We are going to be doing these every Wednesday night at 6:30. The topics 6:30 Central Time. The topics will change. If you look in the events section of the Facebook group you are in, you will see what is coming up on the agenda. So if you've never used this before, StreamYard is the host of this. So if you want to have your comments seen by Tonda and I, please go to StreamYard.com/Facebook and give them permission so we can see who is responding to what we're saying. So we would like to welcome you, and we're so glad you're here tonight. So.
Yes.
What are we going to be talking about tonight, Tonda?
Authentic self versus conditioned self.
Or authentic self and conditioned self.
Yes.
Because we're always going to have conditioning. So what does conditioning mean? Where does that come from? So conditioning is how we are raised as children and young adults, teenagers, young adults, by our family, friends, community, religion, and it's even codified in some laws that we have. So it's really interesting to think about it, because what I realized that as I did this process of coming out is that I realized, although I was, very comfortable in a lot of aspects of who I am, there were pieces of me that were very conditioned. And so one of the conditionings I received as a child is that I was raised Catholic, conservatively Catholic, and I was expected to get married and to have babies. Now, having said that, one of the things I really wanted to do was become a mom. So that is a piece of my conditioning that I accept as authentic to me. But there are other ways that people were conditioned. Tonda, what was it for you?
Well, for me, I was in the Southern Baptist theology. Hell is ever present, and if you lived a gay lifestyle, you were going to hell. And so once I came out, I had to wrestle with that feeling of how the church conditioned me. I mean, when I was 16, I went to a Bill Gothard seminar, and at the end of it, he said that the reason civilizations fall is because they accept homosexuality, which is a load of crap. But, at 16, there's thousands of kids there, and they're, conditioning you.
Right. And I know you, and I know you very well, and you said gay lifestyle, and you don't think being gay is a lifestyle at all. No. That is used sometimes by people from religious traditions or from non-religious traditions that are very heteronormative. And heteronormative means that you live a life in which one gender marries another gender. There's only two genders. There's only a binary, and that you get married, you have children, and you raise your family. That's a heteronormative life.
I was using it from their point of view. They feel
yes,
that
I knew.
I know that it's a lifestyle.
Yeah, and I knew you didn't feel that way, but I wanted to clarify. And so a lot of times, to diminish people who are not inside the heteronormative way of life, they call it a lifestyle. And that always sort of makes me giggle, because a lifestyle is living on a beach or a golf course, or if you're a vegan or a vegetarian, that's a lifestyle.
And right now, they're really leaning into trying to silence parents with trans children who are trying to help their trans children. by not in Florida not talking about being gay, they're trying to erase us. If they don't talk about us, they think that they'll condition everyone that will be erased.
And we've never been erased. We've been around forever. So the thing is that like conditioning is even written into our laws, right? So back in the 1940s and 50s, a woman could be arrested for wearing men's clothing and vice versa. They try to codify how people have sex. I mean, there is a lot of ways that we are conditioned as first women and then as queer women to live our lives. So this is the thing is that, our parents get these beautiful babies when they're born, right? And I've done it myself. So, one of the things is that we believe sometimes that we have to mold our children. We have to get them to be a certain way. And, for me, all I wanted ever for my children to be happy because I really struggled with happiness. But a lot of times we have expectations for our children, and our parents had expectations on us. But in reality, our purpose is to unfold as we get older and to become more authentic. So, for example, when you hear people talking like about a midlife crisis, right? That's perfectly appropriate. That's developmentally appropriate for people that are in their, midlife. So what's midlife? Anywhere between 35 and 65. We all get it at different times. Some people are early bloomers, some people are late bloomers. So it is very appropriate at midlife, where most of our women are, or people who are in the process of coming out, to really start to question and say, wait a minute, am I living a life I was assigned, or am I living a life that is authentic to me and who I am?
Yes, and our conditioned self is what keeps us safe. For instance, I mentioned Florida. The children in Florida, they have to live inside their conditioned self, otherwise they will be outed to their parents, who might not approve and might actually kick them out of the house. So your conditioned self is all the things that you've learned that keeps you safe. And so, of course, you're going to live within your conditioned self until your authentic self keeps just sort of knocking at the door inside of you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And what I think Tonda was mentioning, a part of that Florida law is that if a child comes out to a teacher, then the teacher is obligated to tell the parents that the child is gay. And we all know how devastating that could be for the kids. So sometimes parenting, even done with love, is an impediment for us to becoming more authentic. And so we sort of learn from our families, from our society, from our church, from our community, from our school, from our friends, that the things that keep us different have to be hidden. And again, that goes back to the survival instinct that, to be safe, we have to keep things that make us different hidden from the herd.
And to where it literally goes into our subconscious. I know that for me, I came out really early, but a lot of women who come out later in life, they have literally pushed it to their subconscious, I believe.
Right.
And understandably so.
Mm-hmm. And so what happens is that we start to repress what we get disapproval for. All right. So I hear some of you right now saying, well, I didn't realize I was gay at all. I didn't even think about it. But what I want to say until I fell in love with my catalyst, or until I got a little older, or bisexual. Some of us identify as bisexual in here, and also some of us define as non-binary in here. So, I never even thought of this when I was young, but yes, we all get really subtle messages about this stuff, that you can't be gay, you can't be trans. We sometimes
can't be different in
can't
any
be
way.
different than any way, or even for some of us, we can't even be different than how our parents were, right? And so those are things that we have to start to unpack as we get older. So what ends up happening is we repress the thoughts about ourselves that get us disapproval from others and from our world. And so then we end up rejecting being really vulnerable about these things, because again, it goes back to safety. We want to be safe. And so if we tell people things about ourselves that our people around us will disapprove of, then we're not as safe, and we may face rejection, and that makes us really scared.
But the problem is that our journey here, whatever your faith tradition, our journey here is a constant unfolding to become who we are meant to be.
Right. And we are supposed to, at some point in our lives, to really examine who we were told to be, to become who we were created to be. And so one of the ways we start to get to become the people we were created to be is really start to learn about ourselves.
And someone said the big word, we can't see who it is here, I'm sorry, but the big word rejection.
Yeah.
And one of the keys to becoming authentic is to be able to say, I'm going to be who I am in spite of the world, in spite of what everyone says. That is very difficult. But think about it. No matter what you do, somebody's not going to like.
Right.
If you go to church all the time, somebody's not going to like that. If you don't go to church, somebody's not going to like that.
Right.
So to be authentic is to come out. Just to be who you are, even if some people that we love don't like that.
Mm-hmm. And so one of the ways that we can start to do this is really making a commitment to get to know ourselves. We can only be authentic to the degree that we know ourselves. And all the work that we're talking about tonight is stuff that Tonda and I have studied with the Berkeley, I think it's the Wellness Institute. I'm going to actually just look on it quickly on my screen right now. Oh, it's not there, but I believe it is the Berkeley Wellness Institute. And you can, if you Google that and Conditioned Authentic, they have a ton of resources on their page. It really has made me really think about the conditioning I've received and Tonda has received, and how sometimes our conditioning when we were newly dating and everything would butt up against each other. So if we make a commitment to unfolding and becoming self-aware, we have to do that, like Tonda said, in spite of the world around us sometimes. The only person that can really know ourselves is ourselves. You may be able to get help from a coach or a therapist or a support group, but the really person that only can name ourselves is ourself. So there are some ways to become our more authentic self. And so the first step is the conscious mending of the incongruence between your inner world and your outer world. Barb Rowlandson, who is helping us tonight, has our handout for this, and we will be going through that as we get to it. And so if you're interested in the handout for this, you can contact Barb Rowlandson. She is actually on Facebook right now, and if you just hit her up, she will put the this is it, the handout we're using. So we're going to talk about this a little bit more. So
I think that you said that,
Mhm.
and I think we've heard from so many women who they don't know if they're gay, they don't know how to, but they come out to their husbands or to people, and they haven't decided what else to do in their life. But just by saying that, just by saying, this is who I am, they feel better.
Right. And it is when your inner world, because a lot of us know, I mean, I know that I did a lot of, our line in here that straight girls don't lie awake at night wondering if they're gay. I spent a lot of time in my life wondering at that, and I didn't speak it out loud. When I joined, I Googled late in life lesbian when I came out 6 years ago, and I found a Facebook group. It was the Lily page. It doesn't exist anymore. It was a wonderful page that I was on at one point. And it was amazing to me because all of a sudden, much like Vita Nova, all of a sudden there were women in that group that were saying things and writing about things that I had only thought about in my head. So when I found that community, the incongruence of my inner world began to change to start to meet the outer world of of who I was becoming. And so then the next thing about how to, like, quote unquote, fix all this, and it's never going to be fixed, but to bringing things all in line we have to be sort of conscious that we have the incongruences. Do you have any thoughts about that? Like some of the incongruences?
I do. You have to be conscious of, you have to stop and listen to yourself.
Mhm.
Instead of, a lot of times our inner mind is basically parroting the conditioning that, oh, I can't be gay because I'm married. I can't do that because. And if you just sit with yourself, and just tell yourself, maybe I'm gay, maybe I'm trans, maybe I'm non-binary. No one has to hear it. No one has to. I remember I was very young. I was 18. I thought that I was going to go to hell. And I just had never, like, said it out loud to myself. And
Mhm.
I tried to be in the straight world, and for me, it didn't take very long at all that my inside of my mind was just screaming to me, I can't live this way. I can't live this way.
Mhm.
And so I had to come out to myself before I did anybody else.
Mhm. Literally.
Yes.
So, if we're going to be authentic, we have to develop the willingness, okay, I'm going to put this in quotes, to look bad to ourselves and for other people, because the single biggest attachment our egos have is to be good, is to be seen as good. Okay, so this is where things get trickier for our later in life community because, okay, let's just put the gay stuff to the side. We're just going to put it over there for a while. As women, we are acculturated to be what? Good wives and good moms, right? And I put good in quotation marks. That is the number one worry, right? When you're on these pages, what will people think of me if I divorce a good guy? Will I still be seen as a good mom if I come out as a lesbian? And we really worry about that because people, it's natural. It's normal for people want to be good. And so one of the things is that
in quotes.
in quotes,
Because, yeah.
And one of the things is that it's really important to remember that everybody has a different version of what good is. And what maybe some of your social circles and people, your family may seen as quote unquote good, may not apply to other people. And so we have to take the risk to be seen as different than the rest of our clan around us, our family, our friends. And the heart of being authentic, like my idol Brene Brown said, is to be vulnerable. So we have to be vulnerable to share who we are to other people, to take some risks, to maybe seek a divorce if that's most appropriate for us, or to come out to our kids, or to change our families. I want to tell you all, one of the hardest things I hear all the time is people saying, I'm blowing up my family. No, you're just changing it. And it'll be okay. People have to navigate change, and people have to, I'm hurting the people I love. No, your actions are causing some people feelings of discomfort, but it's actually their responsibility, especially the adults in our lives, to deal with the pain and the discomfort of the changes that are happening. We have to help our kids, of course, but with the adults in our lives, it's their responsibility. We do not have to caretake the feelings of other people. Go ahead.
And one thing that we always talk about is, if you're a parent, your children deserve the happiest version of you.
Mm-hmm.
They don't deserve some, Stepford mom that's just going to do what they think they should do. They deserve somebody who is healthy and whole. And our entire lives, isn't it fantastic? Our entire lives, we unfold and we learn new things about ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And what a great way to go through life. Even in my 50s, I'm just beginning. I feel like I'm just beginning.
Yeah, I always feel like and actually I was talking to my own therapist about it. And so those of us who are 55 plus out there, be happy, because that's also a developmental stage. and actually a lot of people report that their 60s are the happiest times of their lives. So one of the things too about becoming more authentic is knowing how you feel and admitting how you feel to others. I know that can be hard sometimes, because a lot of times when we're in this coming out journey, we say to ourselves, is these feelings real? Am I really gay? Am I really bisexual? Am I really trans? Am I really non-binary? You are the only person that can answer that. And I'm just going to speak to sexuality for a moment. We don't tell people that when they are like 16 and they're lusting after that boy or that opposite gender person in high school, oh, better make sure you go sleep with that person so you can make sure you're heterosexual. Make sure you're heterosexual. We don't say that to people. So I think one of the things is the heart knows what it wants, and we know what we want. And even if you haven't had a sexual experience yet,
you're still send girls to college. I thought that was what college was for.
So now you made me lose my train of thought. Okay. So become aware of your thoughts and your beliefs. Thoughts like no one will ever love me may be an illusion, but they can be really real to you. Of course, people are going to love you again. And the thing is both truth and illusion are part of what is real to you. We have to learn to accept about what is real about ourselves, whether you judge it good or bad. I don't know those of you who've seen Brene Brown's TED Talk, but she's going to her therapist and she said something, and her therapist said to her, well, it's neither good nor bad. So I'm wondering if we could think about coming out as neither good nor bad. It just is.
Mm-hmm.
It's a way for us to claim our authenticity. It's a way for us to be seen in the world.
It is a rebirth.
Yeah.
It's a rebirth of who you are.
Yeah. And I think that's it. Did we cover everything?
Well, I mean, we covered some things.
Yeah. So this is all it for Conditioned and Authentic Self tonight. I believe it is April 24th that I will be having a workshop from 1 to 5 o'clock with Tonda and possibly Barb, if I can twist her arm for her to do it with us, in which we will be talking about all of those things. We will be putting up some links for that. It's a 1-day workshop for 4 hours. It's an opportunity to discuss some of these things. It's an opportunity for you to share your story with other people who understand, and it's an opportunity to build community. It is the number, coming out later in life is really challenging, but building community, coming to things like this, posting in Vita Nova, asking questions, providing support, or any of the other Facebook groups you are in are just so important. And be seen. We are a safe community. We will love you through this. And so I think that's the best thing you can do is you start to come in to your authenticity, your authentic self of who you are.
And one of the...
I know, I saw that. Go ahead, read it.
It's so important for our mental health.
Yep.
That's why we're talking about this, because why come out of your conditioned self? It's so important to your health. I forgot the worksheet.
So we have a lovely worksheet here. If you need it again, you can ask Barbara Rowlandson about it. And some of the things they talk about, and I'd love for you guys to take a look at this, is that it shows us signs when we are in our conditioned selves, and so signs when we are our authentic selves. And you're going to so I'm going to read the list for conditioned selves, and I'm sure some of us are really going to hear our own journeys in this. So there's fear, holding back, worrying about what others think, procrastination, isolating, contraactive thinking, viewing self through a lens of judgment and fear, feeling very energetically heavy. I know when I was in the process coming out, there were days I couldn't even lift my head off the pillow. Feeling the universe is against you, feeling like a victim, using addiction to avoid feelings. I'm going to say that fully 30 to 40% of the women that I've worked with who have come to my groups and stuff like that are often in recovery. And it was during when they went into recovery, whether it's been a year or 20 years, that is when they realized that they were not straight, because they were using self-medication to deal with the very difficult feelings they were dealing with. There's tension in the body, and there's constricted breathing. So our authentic self feels better.
There's one that I could add.
What's that?
When I had not come out, I almost felt like I know that some people know what I'm talking about when I say disassociate. When you're around people and you're trying to not look gay, or you are sort of looking at yourself from somewhere else. It's exhausting to just think, okay, I said that. Did I say it right? Did I say it wrong? And I know some of us can relate to just sort of looking at ourselves outside of ourselves, because we're trying to police everything that we're saying and doing.
Yeah, and that's one of the ways to mend the incongruencies between our inner life and outer life. And so when we're protecting our inner life all the time, our two worlds don't match up.
It's exhausting.
It's exhausting. And also, to those of you who are in this process of oh shit, I'm gay, and now you're deciding what the next step is, our hearts go out to you. We know how hard it is to make those decisions, and how almost physically painful they are. And as you start to make, now not everybody feels this. I just want to remind everybody it's a bell curve. But for those of you who are really struggling, we really understand what it feels like to make those very difficult decisions. Some of the other ways when we're in our authentic self, we have expansive thinking. We are able to view ourselves much kinder, and we're able to view others with a much more love and compassion. I found that once I came out, I had a lot less self-judgment, and I also was a lot kinder to people and had a lot more compassion for people's um, journey. And also, one thing that I sort of want to end with is that when I made the decision to go for it finally, and then I met this one, and we started to fall in love. The universe began to move really super quickly, and like things just started falling into place all at once. And so sometimes for me, I find that the universe moves really quickly when we start to head towards our truth and start to head towards our authenticity. We have end up feeling empowered, and we almost feel like we're let out of prison. There's like a release of energy and everything. So that is our thoughts about conditioned and authentic self. Now we are really ending. Thank you so much for being. I'm so bad about.
Thank you so much for being with us.
Yeah, we appreciate you being with us. Let us know if you have any questions. We have the workshop coming up, and we do the Lotus Group coaching. If you have any interest and want to hear more about it, let us know. All right, y'all. Have a good night. Bye-bye.
Bye.